Hi, I'm Sikwitit, and today we're going to be tackling the grueling, complex, and taxing topic of music copyrights. Now, music publishing as a whole is one of the most complicated and confusing parts of the music business. Even the most experienced music experts have trouble understanding how this works. So, let's get into it. I think we can all agree that music publishing is not the easiest topic to understand, and oftentimes you find yourself having to refresh or relearn the details you may have forgotten over time, especially if you're not submerged in it daily. I think it's safe to say that this topic is of huge proportion. So, with that being said, let's compare it to an elephant. An elephant? Yes, there's a popular saying that asks, how do you eat an elephant? Well, the answer is one bite at a time. So, let's take this step by step. Before we move forward, we first have to understand certain terms that are used when discussing publishing and what they mean. With that being said, let's start with what publishing is. Publishing is the collection and payments for royalties whenever a song is used. A publisher ensures that royalties are collected across the industry for your behalf. Now, before we jump off into the deep end of music publishing, let's start with the basics. It's important to understand that there are two distinct copyrights for every track: the composition and the sound recording. First, let's start with the composition copyright. The composition, also known as musical work, refers to the underlying musical elements such as melodies, harmonies, structure, and composition that may or may not include lyrics. What? What does that even mean? Okay, here's an easier way to understand it. Think of sheet music and words on a notebook. Oh, okay. The composition copyright is usually owned by the original composer and songwriter of the track. Next, let's discuss the sound recording copyright. The sound recording, also known as the master rights or the master, is the owner of the original sound recording, which is the expression of the underlying composition. Bro, now what does that mean? Okay, well, here's a simpler way to understand it. This is the final song that listeners stream on their favorite music platforms such as Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, etc. Oh, okay. Hey, quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get updated on cool new content like what you're watching right now. Also, join us on Discord. It's a perfect place for questions and conversation, not only with the Airbit team, but our entire community. All right, let's get back to it. Now that we have an understanding of the two copyrights, it's essential to know how the song gets split between its contributors. This is particularly important when it comes to the release of the final song so that everyone is compensated and credited for the portions they created. Now, this is where the copyright information we just learned comes into play. 100% of a song is split into two main portions. Do you know what they are? That's right, you guessed it. 50% goes to the composition portion and the other 50% goes to the master portion. Okay, so here's where things get a little bit fuzzy. So let's take it step by step. First, we'll break down the composition portion. Then we'll address the master portion second. When we single out the composition portion, it becomes its own 100% and is then split into two. The producer/beat maker share is the instrumental part of the overall composition and is 50% of the publishing copyright. If the instrumental is produced by multiple producers, they are then responsible to split that 50% amongst each other. Now, the songwriter and artist share is for the lyrics written and performed on the overall composition, which is the other 50% of the publishing copyright. If there are other artists and or songwriters on one song, they are responsible for splitting that 50%. Now let's move on and discuss the master. When we single out the master portion, it becomes its own 100%, very similar to the composition portion. Oh, so you mean they're the same thing, right? Well, yeah. No. Here's how it works. 100% of the master is also split into two, but the percentages are way different and tend to lean in favor of the artist and the record label. Here's the breakdown. The producer's share of the sound recording is usually 2 to 3%, or also known as 2 to 3 points on the master rights. This is pretty standard for most producers across the board, but can be negotiated at a higher percentage under the right circumstance. There are only a handful of situations where a producer can ask for more points. Usually a seasoned, more established producer can do this, or a producer who has executive produced an entire album, or You just have one hell of a negotiation team. The other 97% of that master is then split between the main artist and their record label. Now, their percentages may vary, but are usually determined when the artist signs to that label. That's a lot of information, bro. Yeah, man, I know, and we're just scratching the surface. I now know why artists feel that this process is just so tedious. But it's important we're familiar with how this works because after all, this is our business and this is how we get paid. We don't want you to feel forced to have to consume all this information in just one setting. Remember what I said at the beginning of the video when I talked about the elephant?
One bite at a time.
So, take a minute to chew on this information. Because after all, this is just part one of a 3-part publishing breakdown. I hope this helps. Be sure to like and comment below and subscribe to our Airbit channel for more content. Also, don't forget to follow us on Discord so you can connect with our community and discuss all things music. You can find the link and others in the description. Until next time, stay creative. Peace.